I'd like to tell you a little story about how I failed at wearing that bright, shiny trident on my naval uniform. When I went into the Navy, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. Through all the red tape and finally applying, I made it out to Coronado. And I classed up with 212, class 212. The story I want to tell you is how, in a nutshell, I failed at that program. It was very possible because I trained hard to get there, and I passed the NDOC. But in a nutshell, I failed because one Saturday, out in Coronado, a couple guys on Saturday morning, like I said, Saturday, came into my room kind of early, it's Saturday, 9 o'clock, something like that, 8:30, and said, hey, let's take an ocean swim. Now here I am at a precursor. Buzz is a precursor. It's not SEAL training per se, because international units can come and study at Buzz and run and do all the training. Just basically get you in shape. But just because you finish Buzz doesn't mean you're going to be a SEAL. All right, you still have to do advanced training. But I digress. So two buddies came in and said, hey, let's do an ocean swim. So here I am at this, elite training camp with the purpose in my mind to be a SEAL. And when they asked me, hey, let's go swimming, let's do an ocean swim, I was like, no, man, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I don't got time for an ocean swim. It wasn't until 10 years later that I realized SEALs was never for me. Even when I told myself it was for me, it really wasn't for me. Because I was not prepared to do Alpha through Delta in order to graduate and get the ultimate goal. So that's the first story. The second story I want to tell you is I went to Ohio State University. I finally graduated. It took me like 13 years between poverty, boredom, and restlessness. It took me 13 years, but I finished. But when I got out of the Navy to go back into Ohio State, I majored in engineering. The pre-engineering, I just blew through that stuff. Don't ask me how, but I blew through calculus. But then calculus 2 came, and physics 2. And I was like, oh, this isn't for me. What's the point? Joe, what the hell is the point here? The point is that meeting your goals means successfully negotiating all the steps toward your goal. It's not just fanfare and hurrah and yeah and I'm gonna make it, and no, it's the day-to-day grind. It's the non-sexy stuff of doing something over and over, in the rain, in the cold, when you don't like it, when it's painful, when it's inconvenient. The reason why I'm not a Navy SEAL right now is just because deep down I wasn't willing to do what's necessary on a day-to-day basis in training to meet the goal of standing on the stage with my class and getting my trident and going off to advanced class and then going to a team. And the reason why I'm not an engineer right now and I graduated with a Spanish degree is because I wasn't willing to do what was necessary. I wasn't willing to spend all those hours doing my math work, doing my physics, looking at models, etc., etc. The same is true with a revolution. The same is true of working towards a major shift for the betterment of any people's. It's blood, it's sweat, it's tears, it's hard work, it's just not sexy. It can be, but generally it's not sexy. It's just hard work. I've seen other movements You know, I'm 46. I've seen other movements. I've seen them rise, and I've seen yellow flags and people hollering and yeah, and then it just fizzles out. And that movement fizzled out because my plans to be a SEAL fizzled out for the same reason, that I'm not an engineer. And why my Spanish probably isn't as good as it should be, because I just wasn't willing to do the academic study. Anyway, this is the first part of, I think, a 4-part series of getting started. It's just a prelude. Revolution is not sexy. It's hard work. Are you in? Alright, love you guys.